A cave bear weighing 3,300 pounds is blocking the only shelter for miles. A pack of cave lions circles your family. The temperature is dropping to 40 below zero. This was just Tuesday for Neanderthals, and they survived it for 300,000 years. Let's set the scene. We're talking about a world between 400,000 and 40,000 years ago. Europe and Asia are locked in an ice age that makes modern winters look comfortable. Glaciers advance and retreat, reshaping entire continents. Sea levels drop 400 feet, creating land bridges between Britain and Europe. This exposed land, called Doggerland, becomes hunting ground for creatures that would give you nightmares. The landscape is called Mammoth Steppe, a vast grassland stretching from Spain to Siberia, and it's packed with animals that dwarf anything alive today. Neanderthals aren't visiting this world, they're born into it. They don't get to choose an easier life because there isn't one. Before we continue, subscribe to my channel for more mind-blowing facts on the wonders of the ancient world. The Neanderthals themselves were built different. Their brains were actually larger than ours, which destroys the myth that they were stupid brutes. A typical male stood around 5'5" but weighed 170 to 200 pounds of pure muscle and dense bone. Their bodies were compact by design, built to conserve heat in temperatures that would kill modern humans in hours. Their noses were wide and large, perfectly shaped to warm and humidify the frozen air before it reached their lungs. Recent analysis of their ear canal shapes shows genetic adaptations specifically for surviving brutal cold. These weren't primitive humans trying to figure things out. These were apex predators who ruled Eurasia longer than modern humans have existed. They made sophisticated tools using a technique called levallois, which involves flaking stone in precise patterns to create razor-sharp points. They were the first humans to systematically bury their dead, which means they understood mortality and probably had complex beliefs about it. Their hyoid bone, the one that anchors your tongue and voice box, was nearly identical to ours. They could speak. Analysis of tartar on their teeth shows they cooked their food and used plants as medicine. These people understood their world in ways we're only now discovering through archaeology. Now let's talk about what wanted to eat them. The cave bear is the perfect place to start because it competed directly with Neanderthals for the one resource that mattered most: caves. The largest males weighed over 3,300 pounds. That's bigger than a Kodiak bear, bigger than anything you can find in the wild today. Despite being mostly vegetarian, a cave bear defending its den would absolutely kill you. Neanderthals had to enter new caves not knowing if a 10-foot-tall bear was waiting inside. A cave bear skull found in Romania has a puncture wound from a Neanderthal spear driven straight through the bone. Some caves contain layers of bear skulls arranged in patterns, possibly suggesting ritual behavior, possibly just showing how many times Neanderthals had to fight for shelter. Cave lions were 25% larger than modern African lions, and they hunted in prides. These cats could take down fully grown woolly mammoths, which means a Neanderthal was an easy meal if caught alone. Early cave paintings show them without manes, all sleek muscle and killing efficiency. A child's footprint, found in a French cave, sits next to the tracks of a cave lion. A cave lion skull from Germany shows a massive fracture from a heavy impact, probably a Neanderthal club or spear. That Neanderthal stood its ground against an animal that could bite through bone. The scimitar-toothed cat wasn't like a saber-tooth. Its teeth were shorter, serrated, curved like blades. It was built for endurance hunting across open ground, part lion and part hyena in body structure. Those teeth could open devastating slicing wounds on large prey. A site in Texas shows a mass grave of mammoths killed by scimitar-toothed cats hunting in packs. For a Neanderthal caught on the open steppe with no trees to climb, a pack of these animals meant certain death. Their sloped backs and long legs let them appear suddenly over tall grass, like something out of a fever dream. Cave hyenas were bigger and tougher than African hyenas. Their jaws could splinter mammoth leg bones to get at the marrow inside. Neanderthals and hyenas were direct competitors, constantly stealing each other's kills. The really grim part is the gnaw marks found on Neanderthal bones inside hyena dens. Sometimes the Neanderthals won the competition, sometimes they became the meal. Hyena clans could drive even cave lions away through sheer numbers and viciousness. A lone Neanderthal was just another carcass to them. Dire wolves were real. They were bulkier than grey wolves with stronger bite force. Ice Age wolf packs were larger than modern ones because there was more prey to support them. Neanderthals watched these packs hunt and probably learned tactics from them. Evidence shows Neanderthals skinned wolves, likely using their thick fur for clothing. The relationship was complicated, part threat, part teacher, part resource. But predators weren't even the biggest challenge. The prey animals were. A full-grown woolly mammoth stood over 11 feet tall at the shoulder and weighed 6 tons. Their tusks reached 15 feet long and could impale anything that got too close. Neanderthals couldn't take on healthy adults, so they targeted the young, the old, the sick. A site in Germany shows massive accumulations of mammoth bones at a Neanderthal hunting camp. They probably drove mammoths off cliffs or into bogs where the animals would get stuck. A single mammoth kill could feed a band for months if they preserved the meat in permafrost. Think about what that hunting looked like. No guns, no distance weapons, just wooden spears with stone points, getting close enough to a panicking 6-ton animal to drive a spear into its vital organs. Woolly rhinos were walking tanks covered in shaggy fur with horns over 3 feet long. Neanderthal spear points have been found embedded in woolly rhino ribs, proving these were direct confrontations. The rhino's size and aggressive temperament made it one of the most dangerous hunts possible. You couldn't just wound it and wait for it to die, you had to kill it before it killed you. The Irish elk wasn't actually an elk, it was a giant deer with antlers spanning 12 feet. Getting past those antlers to make a kill required incredible skill. Its bones show up constantly in Neanderthal sites, which means they figured out how to hunt them consistently. The aurochs was the wild ancestor of cattle, but far more massive and unpredictable. Bulls stood 6 feet tall at the shoulder. Julius Caesar himself wrote about them, describing them as having the ferocity and size nearly equal to elephants. Successfully hunting an aurochs proved your skill and bravery to the entire band. Some prey was even bigger. The straight-tusked elephant stood 13 feet tall, taller than woolly mammoths. Giant prehistoric hippos lived in European rivers, just as dangerous and aggressive as modern hippos, but in a place you'd never expect them. Neanderthals hunted steppe bison, giant moose and other megafauna that don't exist anymore because they were all hunted to extinction or died out when the Ice Age ended. Their primary weapon was a wooden spear, fire hardened to increase its strength, with a stone point attached using resin glue. These weren't throwing spears, they were thrusting spears. Neanderthals had to get within feet of their prey to deliver killing blows. Analysis of their skeletons shows injury patterns similar to modern rodeo riders, constant trauma from violent encounters with large animals, broken bones, healed fractures, arthritis from repeated impacts. They used ambush tactics, leveraging terrain to get close without being detected. They made specialized tools called lissoirs from animal ribs, possibly for working hides into tough leather that could protect against cold and claws. The Shanidar cave in Iraq contains the skeleton of a Neanderthal who lived for years after a crippling arm injury. His group took care of him, even though he couldn't hunt. Another skeleton from La Chapelle-aux-Saints in France shows severe arthritis and multiple injuries, yet he was fed and protected by his band. This wasn't weakness. This was social structure sophisticated enough to value members who couldn't contribute physically. Cut marks on Neanderthal bones from Krapina in Croatia suggest ritual defleshing or possibly cannibalism during famines. The Altamura man fell into a sinkhole and died there, trapped and alone, his skeleton preserved in the cave for tens of thousands of years. They used fire constantly. It provided warmth, protection from predators, and let them cook food. They used red ochre, possibly for body paint or symbolic purposes. A deer bone from a Neanderthal site has carved parallel lines, one of the oldest examples of symbolic thought. They weren't just surviving, they were thinking abstractly about their world. The permafrost made everything harder. The ground was permanently frozen, which complicated burial and made simple tasks like driving stakes for shelters nearly impossible. Caves were valuable real estate precisely because they offered protection from wind and predators, but they were often already occupied by animals that didn't want to leave. Disease and infection from even minor injuries could be fatal. A broken leg from a fall might mean being left behind because the nomadic band couldn't afford to slow down. Resource competition came from other Neanderthal bands too, fighting over the best hunting grounds and shelter. Around 40,000 years ago, Neanderthals went extinct. The exact cause is still debated, probably some combination of climate change and competition with modern humans moving into Europe. But they didn't completely disappear. Most non-Africans today carry 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA. That DNA contributes to our immune systems and affects our susceptibility to certain diseases. The last Neanderthals held out in places like Gibraltar, a final refuge before they vanished from the fossil record. Their legacy is 300,000 years of survival in a world that would kill any modern human within days. They were perfectly adapted to their time and incredibly successful by any measure. So would you survive 5 minutes in the Neanderthal world? Without their strength, their intimate knowledge of the landscape and its dangers, and a lifetime of training from birth, the answer is absolutely not. We like to think we're the pinnacle of human development, but we're adapted for a world with grocery stores and central heating. Neanderthals were adapted for a world where everything bigger than you wanted to eat you, everything smaller was trying to steal your food, and the weather itself was trying to freeze you solid. They didn't just survive that world, they mastered it for longer than modern civilization has existed. If that changes how you see human evolution, hit the like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who thinks modern humans were always the dominant species. Because for hundreds of thousands of years, Neanderthals were the ones who actually ruled the Ice Age world.